Yeah, thank you, Maggie. Hi, everyone. I would like to welcome you to our first Intellecap Sankalp LinkedIn Live. We're here to talk about Sankalp Awards, and we thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I will start with introductions, and then I'll hand it over to my team. My name is George Murage. I work with the Sankalp Africa team based out of Nairobi, Kenya. We have two summits that we organize across Africa and India. The Africa Summit, which is usually hosted out of Nairobi, and the Global Summit that's hosted out of Mumbai, India. We recently had the last Africa Summit was fully virtual, but the one that's coming up on the 1st to the 4th of March in 2022 is both virtual and in person. So it's our first fully hybrid event, and we're really proud to have that in the works, and we hope you'll all be able to join us for that. So I'll now hand it over to Alan to go next.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the session. My name is Alan Obilo. I'm part of the Sankalp team based out of Nairobi office. Happy to virtually have a conversation with all of you. As George mentioned, we run Sankalp, and it's a great platform for connection between enterprises and investors, policymakers, just to discuss the next discourse around how to raise capital, how to network better, and also just to give a opportunity for different players to converge and interact to grow the ecosystem as a whole. Thank you so much.
Great. I think I'll go next. Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Michael Omega. I work at Intellecap, and I'm based in the Nairobi office, where I support micro and small enterprises from across Africa to refine their ideas, optimize their market tests and analysis, launch better versions of their products, and conduct proof of concept in order to successfully launch in the market. It's a pleasure to be on this live today.
Should I go now then, Margaret? Should I? Okay, so my name is Diana Sierra. I am an industrial designer and also the co-founder and CEO of Be Girl, a company that basically uses design to reframe menstruation as something, to love, to feel proud, and to basically for all of us to be, very embracing of. I was fortunate enough to participate in the previous Sankalp, and thanks to one of those pitches on the competition, we managed to link up with some investors, and we're this close, I think, almost there to close the safe. So I think I will be able to speak from this side, the type of people that actually go through the incubators like Mike was talking, and get all the support and all the stuff, so I can give the audience the side view from what is being an entrepreneur and actually going from this journey from the sketch on the napkin, to actually funding a company and raising money and capital, which is one of the most extenuating things, but actually it's possible to do it.
Thank you, Diana. Hi, my name is Margaret Smakunza. I am part of the Sankalp team, and I lead the communications and marketing efforts for the team. So we'll just get right to it. Mike, over to you.
Great. I'll request either George or Margaret to kindly present or share the screen. As you do that, I'll just give a brief introduction on Intellecap, the work that we do, the association with Sankalp. So Intellecap is an advisory firm, and we specifically focus in the development sector. Our advisory is targeted towards multilateral, bilateral organizations, development finance institutions, and social and impact enterprises that are solving some of the critical challenges in the developing economies. We operate across more than 30 countries with offices in India and Kenya, with the model of supporting enterprises or entrepreneurs and solving development challenges. In terms of supporting entrepreneurs, we believe that there are three broad things that entrepreneurs require. The first being knowledge, provided for by Intellecap's consulting work. The second thing is capital, of course, we have an equity fund, that's Avishka Capital, that has made over 60 investments in social and impact enterprises. Most of these investments were traditionally in Asia, but as of this year, May 2021, we made our first investment in East Africa, where we now have a dedicated fund, and we are planning to set up a fund for the whole of sub-Saharan Africa in the near future. Thirdly, we believe that besides knowledge and capital, entrepreneurs also need the right networks, and this is where Sankalp Forum comes in. And it's a platform that basically is organized to get the different stakeholders, entrepreneurs, investors, and ecosystem enablers to come together and partner to solve some of the pressing challenges that the world faces today. So every year we have 2 editions of Sankalp. This is Sankalp Global and Sankalp Africa. And so specifically for this call, we will be speaking about the upcoming Sankalp Africa, that's next in March. And just to share a little bit more information on the application process and so on. So I'm not sure if the presentation is live. Are we good to go, George? Right, perfect. All right, thank you. Thanks, George. So our objective for this, our sole objective for the Sankalp Awards is to, one, expose entrepreneurs to some of the ecosystem players. Within the summit itself, we have various stakeholders that attend the summit. This includes investors and other ecosystem enablers such as enterprise support organizations or donor organizations that are keen on investing in different enterprises or the different sectors that I will touch on in a little bit. So we aim to give these enterprises exposure to these enablers within the ecosystem. And the second thing that we hope to achieve is to prepare the enterprises. With the applicants, and I think Bigal will speak about this, they usually get a bit of a crash course on, their presentation and their pitching to investors and so on. We also prepare them post the summit as well, in terms of, preparing a capital facilitation agreement in case they've been able to have successful conversations with some of the investors or potential partners that they meet within the summit. And then finally, we hope to help them raise capital. With the capital raise, it is not guaranteed within the award itself, but and I think Diana has just touched on the fact that when you attend the summit, you get to meet a number of investors. I think on average, a third of the participants within the summit itself are investors looking for enterprises to invest in. So you stand a chance of raising capital, of course, post the summit, after you've had the opportunity to have follow-on calls with investors that will have helped you or facilitated the conversations between the two parties. So these are our main objectives for applying, or rather for holding this Sankalp Africa Awards or Sankalp Global Awards as well. And then I think George can move to the next slide. So the criteria that you go by to evaluate some of these enterprises, broadly, we look at the impact scale, the team, and the ticket size, as well as the market fit. So in terms of impact, we run a very high impact. The entrepreneur needs to run a high impact business that caters to the rural, low income, or disadvantaged communities in any of these main key sectors that I'll also just talk about later. And then the business itself also has to have realized some level of scale. So it has to be a for-profit business model with high potential for scale. And then, another important thing that we also look at when we're evaluating some of these enterprises is the team itself. So we always look out for teams that have the experience and within that specific sector or within that specific offering that the business has. So, for instance, if it's business that has an IT component to it, providing technology services, probably to smallholder farmers, then it's very important for the team to have a dedicated IT person, whether in-house or outsourced. So so these are some of the key aspects that we look at. The founder has to have come from a background that is related to what he's offering, and has to also have some expertise within that specific sector. And the other thing that we look at that I mentioned is the investment. So the Sankalp Awards is specifically targeted to early stage companies. So we're usually looking to connect these enterprises with investors, and most of the investors that are looking at this applicants only maybe invest up to $1 million USD. But the range is between 100,000 to 1 million USD. So an enterprise needs to be looking to get investment between that range, and this is specifically in equity and debt. And then the last thing that needs to at least have happened, even though it's an early stage company, is market fit. So you have to have some proof of concept on the ground, and preferably it should be generating some income for you to be able to at least attract some of these investors. Great. Yeah, perfect. So next up is the specific thematic sectors that we basically look at. So these sectors include the agri sector. Apologies for that. So these sectors include the agricultural sector, climate change and circular economy, financial inclusion, livelihoods and gender, and healthcare and WASH. So these are the key sectors that we mostly focus on, and the enterprise has to be within some of these sectors, as we have identified them as the main sectors that can propel growth within the emerging economies. George, the next slide, please. Perfect. Thanks. So once an enterprise has, of course, handed in their application after we've launched the call for application that is currently on live up to the 16th of December. So once we get in some of these applications, which have historically been between the range of 400 to 700 applicants, there is an internal screening that happens where we tend to make calls to some of these enterprises to understand the business better, evaluate their application and shortlist them. And so some of these shortlisted enterprises get the opportunity, 15 of them get the opportunity to pitch to an external screening committee that we usually have before the summit. And this external screening committee is comprised of investors, and these investors now shortlist these companies to have the final list of 10 that is going to go on to meet the to present before the grand jury. The grand jury is also made up of investors and other high players within the ecosystem. So these investors shortlist the 3 winners of the summit, and these 3 winners are now announced at the awards ceremony, and the selection is usually based on the criteria that I just touched on earlier. So once these enterprises are shortlisted, so the 10 finalists that are shortlisted get the opportunity to attend exclusive deal rooms within the summit. They get to have conversations beyond the conversations that they've had with the grand jury and the screening committee members, and a number of other opportunities that come out for the 10 enterprises that are shortlisted. So this is basically the selection process that happens within Sankalp, and this is what we use to basically just get the final 3 awardees that are going to be given the Sankalp Award for the specific year. So I think, George, you could just Yeah, so that is my presentation today. I think it would be better for us to just hear from one of the finalists that was in last year's Sankalp Award. So I'll just pass it over to Diana Sierra, the founder of Beagle, to just share her Sankalp Award experience.
Sure. I think one of the points that you mentioned that I couldn't agree more is the fact of exposure. Like, for people who just got the opportunity to see, who are the winners or who are the finalists, like what you get to see is just the tip of an iceberg. There's a lot of work that needs to happen that nobody actually gets to know what it is. But the people who actually, it's on the drill, making sure that the enterprise moves forward. So I think it's really important to make sure that people see that for people to close a deal, for people to close investment, it's not that you just happen to meet the person and boom, like they happen to hear about you in another forum, from another people, from you have to be around for a really long time, making sure that you do the appointments, that you participate in the contest, that you take opportunity such as Sankalp and be in these platforms, because very rare times people just know you and invest on you. But if they keep seeing you and they can keep hearing about you because another investor, because another group of angels, that's how you create the trust. I mean, we're talking about social enterprises that usually we're not the people who have the most, we work in areas that are very obscure, markets that are not being developed, or technologies that is just being, kind of put into the market. So this credibility that brings you being in this type of platforms, winning awards, even if they are not financial rewards, just the fact that you went through it, the incubator process, that you hit the marks, that you have a solid business plan, that gives a lot of credibility, and that really matters. It's a currency that is extremely important in this type of network. So I couldn't agree with you more on that. We also were fortunate enough, we did the homework, we went through the process, we refined the pitch, we went through the 2, 3, 4 sessions that we have to do before. But we did it because we always knew that this is kind of like casting a net. It's when you're going fishing. The bigger the net, the better chances you have to catch a fish. So that's what we did. And we were fortunate enough that somebody who was looking at our pitch, it really caught her attention. And it was a Cassie Capital she's coming from the west side of the continent, and actually she managed to rally people even from the east side of the continent. It's all this conversation, it's all this very bubbling ecosystem that we as entrepreneurs need to take opportunity. We definitely need to jump into this. And the next one that is going to be presential, half hybrid, a hybrid, presential and virtual, I encourage everybody who is in the proximity to attend to please register. You have no clue who you're going to meet in this type of events. It's colleagues, you could find people that is in the same sector or completely different that can make linkages. It's not only raising capital, it's meeting vendors, it's meeting other people working in business development. This is a unique opportunity, and I strongly encourage everybody to apply. I guess, do we have any questions from the audience at this point? Because I think, there's important things that I may come across for very specific points.
I can't see any questions now, but in case they come in, Diana, I'll throw them to you.
Yeah, I also I think it's worth mentioning too that yes, there's also the opportunity to do a lot of pre-work. So since this is going to be in March, it's really important that people actually do the pre-work to see, just in the chance that they get the opportunity to go in person to Kenya. Do not limit, I'm saying this based on the experience that I have of attending this type of events. It's there's a lot of pre-work that needs to be done, meetings to be set, people that you can, I have been the Sankalp team, once you are in, they're very helpful to create those networks and extend those introductions. I mean, like being and standing in front of the door, it doesn't mean that you're getting in, but at least you get the chance to knock. So once, like, even for those things, it's not just what happens in those 3-4 days. No, it's what happens before that and what happens after that, making sure that you make the time to create, the buzz, go to the event and have those follow-up meetings, because that is where really you actually get the opportunity to have, a more relaxed talk, have a little bit more of engagement with the people that is going to the event. And it's an amazing opportunity. I cannot just express enough the reasons why you should go and you should join, and you should go through the filter and see if you manage to be qualified as one of the enterprise invited to the event.
Dana, hi, Alan here.
Yes.
I'm curious to understand, how was the experience of application from the side you applied all the way to when you got to the summit?
I think the application, compared to many other events, it's the bar is high, but I like it. And the reason why is because if the bar is high for you, it's high for everybody. So that means that a lot of like the people that manage to get through the final levels, that means that it's, first of all, people that they have a business sound that is sound, but it's also people that is willing to put the work. And I think that is really important, because, the fact that you have to make time to do the coachings one-on-one, that you have to go and do the dry runs, that you have to adjust the pitch, and then the next one you have to come with the recommendations, making sure that it's reflected on the pitch. I mean, that speaks a lot, not only from the type of event in general, but the compromise that the Sankalp team has with the entrepreneurs to actually make a splash, like other people, like there's nothing more valuable that everybody has than time. So the fact that you have people committed to making sure that you give your best shot, that is extremely important. I'm going to say just my personal experience. I'm Colombian. I have a venture that is founded in the US, but I work mainly in Africa. So you need to make sure that you can, kind of like grab every single string that you can in order to like center yourself. And we as entrepreneurs, we end up doing this type of social ventures, not particularly because we went to the university to be a social entrepreneur. It's just the stuff that lands in our lives. So we kind of like come into this journey, kind of like a lot of us, at least myself, crashing into it. So these networks, like the fact that you are able to come to an event like this and literally you're plugged into networks, that's how you do business. You can't do business alone. You need to make sure that you tap into other people's brains, networks, and resources, and that you also allow them to tap into yours. So this is the way that it's really like, I always think about this in a way that is, it's like, it's good karma. So you put good karma right there, and getting good karma kind of like goes back to you. So I always think that the worst mentality to have in an event like this is like thinking that you're just gonna go and find money, because that's sometimes the least important thing that you happen to find. You can make friends, you can make colleagues, you can even create groups after this, support groups, you can have mentorship. For example, in my case, I'm a CEO that happened to be crushing being a CEO, never had an MBA or something like that. You need people that you can talk to. Then it's all, sometimes they offer their help in this type of networks to make sure that they coach you because they like you, because they like your work. So all that human resources capital that you get to tap into this is extremely important. So going back to your point, Alan, one thing that I can completely give witness to is the quality time that we have been given in this process. Quality time, quality brains, quality people. That and it's not, I'm not saying that it's for free, because like we all put effort into this, but like these things cannot be taken for granted. This type of resources are critical for entrepreneurs to really get to the other side. So yeah, I'm very grateful, and I strongly recommend people not to throw the towel once they start, once you pass the filter and they really start to prime you for the show.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So Dana, I'll kindly request you mute yourself. I think there's a bit of echo coming from your end. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I thank you so much, Alan, for jumping into that and kind of wanting to figure out what her experience is. Margaret, if you can also just mute yourself, just so the audio kind of doesn't do that feedback. Thank you. So I want to throw a question to Alan. Sorry, Alan, to put you on the spot. I was going to ask Mike, but he seems to have dropped off. I think he's having some trouble with his internet. So Alan, I'm just going to ask, we had a few questions come in. Are the awards for East Africans only? So maybe if you could maybe take a minute and just dive into that a little bit.
Thank you, George. So the award is not for East Africa, but the award is for the whole of Africa. So we are looking for applicants from, be it Southern Africa, from West Africa, from North Africa, and also from East Africa. And specifically, we are looking at enterprises who are operating in Africa. It could be incorporated in Europe or in US, but having operations in Africa. As you would rightly remember Diana mentioning that the company Bigal is incorporated in the US, but they're operating in Africa. And that for us was a qualified the enterprise. So that's one of the criteria we're looking for. As long as you are creating impact, you are improving livelihood for the people in Africa, you are creating opportunity for people to grow or businesses to thrive here, you are in a better position for us to look at your business critically and enable us to move forward with you during the Sankalp Summit Enterprise Award.
Thank you so much, Alan. So the company does not have to be incorporated in Africa, but you do have to have operations in Africa. I see my colleague Ariel has joined. I know it's very early where you are, Ariel, so thank you so much for joining. And I'm just going to throw you a question as well. Someone said, will the award finalists be awarded at the physical summit? I know you're the perfect person to take that question.
Thanks, George. I hope you can hear me okay. So as of right now, we're planning the award ceremony to be virtual, but we might be able to bring some of the enterprises physically to Nairobi if that does remain a possibility. So yeah, we hope to, yes, and all extenuating circumstances, we do hope to be able to celebrate with some of those enterprises in person, but the award ceremony will happen virtually so that we can reach the most people as possible. I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thank you so much, Ariel. And I had one last question for Mike. Mike, you had mentioned something around grants, and the support that the enterprises will get from Sankalp, not necessarily being money. So someone came in with a question, what do you mean by funding? And that was in quotes. Could this be a grant or concessional funding, or is it intended to be equity or debt?
So it's intended to be equity or debt, but it's not guaranteed that you will get funding. So even the 3 finalists do not get funding, but as just Diana has just mentioned, it's a long process, and I think even once you get an investor interested, conversations go on for a very long time. I think on average, it takes 9 to 12 months for the due diligence process to just be completed, and so it's a lengthy process. But we do support enterprises that are looking to raise equity or debt to secure investors, and so so we assist them during that process as a third party to just help facilitate the whole process. To ensure that they get investment. And to just add on to Alan's response on the focus geography for these awards. So it's a company that has operations in Africa, and we encourage companies from this, maybe I'd call them maybe marginalized areas, maybe for instance, Francophone Africa, because there is huge potential in such markets. And so, we encourage enterprises that are already trying to do to work in such geographies to also apply. So it's not exclusive to East Africa or Southern Africa, but it's for the whole of Africa. And you will see, you can even check on our website, some of the companies that we've shortlisted in the last few years have come from different geographies across Africa. the application is open to everybody that is operating in Africa.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. I will now, Dana, I'll give you 30 seconds to say your final words. There's an enterprise seated right now looking at this. They have their material, but they're not sure whether they would apply. So maybe 30 seconds, if you can just give them that final push. The deadline is coming up on the 16th. Go.
Okay, well, I can tell you the thing that I always heard in my Colombian culture: you don't sell what you don't show. So if you're not willing to put the show and go there and get people to know your work and what you're worth it, then, I'm sorry, but this is not the space for you. So roll the sleeves, get to work, apply, because this is how opportunities are made. They have to find you prepared for you to give the cleanest shot you can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Diana. Maggie, back to you.
Thank you, George. Thank you for everyone who has applied and who is planning to apply, and anyone who wants to go back to the application and amend anything. We are looking forward to go through the applications, and thank you, team, for taking the time to go through what Sankalp Awards is all about, and Diana for your presence here, just to encourage an entrepreneur out there who wants to apply, right? Ariel, did you want to maybe introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. Sorry for joining late. I was having some video issues, but yeah, lovely to be here with all of you. Diana, thank you so much. A huge thanks to the team for putting this together, and we hope that many of you apply, and I hope to see you all at Sankalp, part of the Sankalp team, mostly based in Nairobi, but in the US for a couple of weeks here. So thanks everyone for putting this together.
Thank you, Ariel. All right, bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. Have a good one. Take good care. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.